Hello everyone and welcome to Underwater Adventures with Alex Mirabal. Today we will be talking about dangerous animals when you are working in an archaeological excavation in a wreck site. So stay with us and let's dive into it. The first thing that comes to mind to people when we talk about the underwater environment, being excavating a shipwreck or diving in a reef, is the dangers that some animals pose to the diver and to us humans, which are not in our element. Okay, and the first thing that comes to mind is sharks, because everyone thinks, rightfully, that sharks are dangerous. Well, okay, in the case of excavation of a wreck site that we are working either on a reef or in a seabed, really down to the seabed with a lot of noise that we are creating and with a lot of tools, sharks are not really a danger. So in the list of animals that I will discuss today with you about the dangers that they represent for us, sharks are not inside. We have seen sharks in our excavations quite few times, but they have never been dangerous to us. You know, some of the species of sharks are territorial animals. And for instance, in a reef in Cuba, when we were excavating one wreck, we have the situation where two sharks that were apparently living there and were not happy at all, that we arrived like 15 guys full of, tools and gear to their reef. And they became a little bit nervous because of our presence, but that was the closest we got to have an incident with the shark. In our work, it doesn't happen.
Maybe this is a bit of a silly question, but since you're also a marine biologist, maybe you know. So do sharks, I'm sure they're different species, of course, but do sharks swim in average around the same depth that you guys work at? Or like they swim in any depth? Or is that not a specific feature of that animal? Like, is there a specific depth that they are hanging around normally?
Well, as you said, there are many different species of sharks, and there are some species which are more oceanic, the ones that live more in open waters. Those obviously you see very seldom in shallow waters. But then there are, for instance, the reef sharks or some of other species, and the bull shark and some sharks which are quite dangerous as well, that they live around the reef in shallow waters. They can get very shallow in some moments, even like upstream in the rivers. So there are different species, but then again, the shark goes to the reef to feed and to find fish and to feed. They identify an area and they stay around if they like it. But normally when you arrive, a ship with a big team with 6 guys in the water at the same time. They thrown up on you and then they go. You are not an attractive fish for them. You are too big, too noisy, and too weird. You are not part of their diet. So, okay, we have seen this with sharks, but the sharks are not really a danger. Then we have another thing that you have to bear in mind when you are excavating in a reef or in the sand or in a seabed, any type of seabed, you are digging on the seabed. You are removing sediment. So you are bringing up, without intention, but you are bringing up food for the fish, like worms and little crustaceans and snails. So you will have in many places in the Caribbean and in the Indian Ocean and in the Atlantic, you will have a lot of fish that very quickly discover that they have a free meal because you are making it easier for them. And those fish, they are normally small fish and reef fish. Those fish, they could get annoying. They are not dangerous.
Pestering you guys.
it's not really a danger, but they can get annoying. They bite your fingers, they bite your hair. If by any chance you have triggerfish in the area, that could be nasty because they have all these teeth and they bite very strong. Their bite is very painful.
So it's not that they're just swimming around in the way, they're full on nibbling on you guys.
Yeah, they're coming to you because, and this thing happens very often, everyone that has worked in this or have been excavating a shipwreck knows this. We work with gloves, and after a while working on the reef and the coral and the sand and the sediment, these gloves are wearing off. The tip of the fingers is like going away.
Yeah.
And then you have a black glove with your
Fingertips
fingers
out.
sticking out. This obviously for the fish is somehow very attractive.
Because they can see it, of course.
Yeah, it's sticking out. It's something that they really looks like a worm.
Exactly. The tip of the finger probably to a fish looks like the anemonas that are in coral and things like that.
It certainly looks like food because
Exactly.
because they go bite you all the time. As I said, this is annoying, it's upsetting, it's sometimes even fun, but it's not dangerous. I will be talking today about animals in the sea that can actually harm you when you're working in an archaeological excavation. So you are really laying on the seabed and grab to the seabed, and you have to open this seabed to get to the cultural layer where the artifacts are. And you will be surprised that there are some animals which are so apparently innocent that they shouldn't pose a danger to anyone, and how can they become harmful for us working in these conditions. And I will start by sea urchins. I know everyone will be like, what? Sea urchins? I mean, this is a very sedentary creature which is sitting in one place, minding their own business, and if you don't go to them, they don't go to you. Well, okay, that is not totally true. In Mozambique, for instance, we have had the experience that as there are so strong currents because of the difference of tides, urchins, they tend to shelter themselves behind a rock or behind any object that is on the seabed. Mainly when you are working in seabeds, they are very flat and they are very difficult to grab for these animals. And one of the best places to hide from the current is the diver. You are flat on the seabed, working there, and then you see these urchins speeding up to you. I will put a piece of video we have of that because I never thought that urchins could be so fast. They really coming speeding up to you, and then they hit you.
Yeah.
They try to grab themselves and fix themselves in the position so all the spines go through your wetsuit. They don't really mind which wetsuit you're using.
How many millimeters?
How many millimeters, which is the brand. The spines will go through it. And I tell you, if that happens to you once with one sea urchin, it bothers you a bit, but it's not a problem. But when you have that and you have 10 urchins, big size urchins with spikes like this, and they are going all together with the clear intention of hanging over you and to cling on your legs, that could become really bad. Because all these creatures, they have, as a defense mechanism, they have some sort of...
Poison?
Yeah, maybe poison is not, but they have substances in their skin and in the spines that there are a clear warning for the predators that they should not mess with them.
Yeah.
And this on your skin, inside your flesh, it is really painful.
Kind of like coral, like they have alive something that it's very easy to infect, probably. Yeah.
Corals, animals, and there are plenty of animals which have this chemical protection, not to be attacked by predators. So when you have this invasion of sea urchins where you are working, I tell you, it gets dangerous. I mean, divers, sometimes we have to abort the dive and regroup and see what to do. Put some stuff on the seabed so they will go there instead of going on to you. So, you know, like sandbags and something that you lay there, and they will accumulate there.
So they're looking for a place to settle in. So that's why they're getting close to you guys. Okay, got it. it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are not that mean.
Yeah.
The thing is that they want to shelter from the current.
From the current,
and they need a mechanical barrier between them and the current.
That's why they're
And,
chilling in rocks all the time. Yeah.
there you are in the middle of a sand patch.
You're a rock.
And the guys will say, cool, let me hide behind this guy. I mean, and it's very easy to attach to them because you put all your spines in and you stay there. So yeah, as I said, nobody will consider sea urchins a danger. For us, it is. And I'm telling you this because I try to put together in this list of animals, the animals that will create more downtime in my expeditions because divers are wounded or are hurt. So they are missing dives. And sea urchins produce that quite a lot. Another animal which, well, okay, this one, yes, people identify as something that can harm you, but they are normally very gentle. They don't mess with you. But in our work, in the archaeological excavation of shipwrecks, you really need to mess with them because you are in their place, which are the moray eels. The moray eels, they come in every color, every size, but all of them have very sharp teeth. And also the teeth of the moray eel, they have a characteristic that they move. Yeah, they move like going inside the mouth. So when they eat a fish,
it locks it.
Exactly, it will never go
so
out.
If you want to like yank it, you can't.
The worst thing you can do when a moray eel bites you is to try
to go back, to push it back,
to go back,
to pull back,
to pull back. Yeah. But at the same time, that's the only human reaction. You will yank your arm,
of
and
course.
your fingers will get ripped. I tell you because it has happened to all of us. And in this case, we are facing more or less the same situation that with the urchins, but with the difference that in this case, the moray eels, they are defending their place, their hole, their cave where they live, because you are working in front of them. When you are excavating a wreck, I tell you, you get really focused, really concentrated in what you're doing, and you very quickly forget about your environment. You are moving rocks and putting rocks in a crate to throw them away. You are working with the water dredge and you are sucking this sediment. You are not really looking around to see if there is any danger because normally there is none. But moray eels are in their holes and you are getting close and close and close to them. And they, in a certain point, they will go out to protect their house. They will go out and bite you badly. It doesn't matter the size. Well, it matters the size of the moray eel, but even the little ones, the small ones like this, they can rip your fingers off. I have an example. It happens to one of my oldest colleagues and friend. We were trying to tie a cannon from the seabed, to tie it with ropes and things to lift it up. So one of the things that this diver was doing was cleaning under the cannon to pass the rope underneath. So it's laying on the ground, so making a hole underneath the cannon so you can pass the rope and tie it. And he was doing that. The seabed was mostly sand and loose shells. It was not hard rock, but it was sand and loose shells. And then the guy is cleaning under the cannon and trying to pass the rope underneath. And I'm sitting on this side of the cannon and I'm watching. There is a moray eel like this. She was chilling there, and suddenly in front of her face, it came the finger of my friend going out like this. Oh man, that certainly looked like, oh, food. And she went and ripped his finger, but like, it was like strips of flesh going out because he obviously
went like that.
Yeah, he pulled his arm back with the moray eel on it, and it was really bad. I mean, I was there, I was watching it, and I didn't have time to warn him that his hand was about. I didn't know how far he was from the other side of the cannon, and his fingers sticked out like, yay! I'm laughing now, but obviously I was not laughing at that moment. We have to go to the hospital because also the bites and the wounds produced by all these animals, they get infected very quickly. You really have to clean them up and make sure that no trace of this slime that they have in their teeth and the spines that stays there, or anything that stays in the wound, because it will get infected very quickly. So after a while, he was okay, nothing happened, and we learned that we have to especially pay attention when you're doing that or working under limited visibility conditions, that you don't know what you are close to.
Yeah, the thing is that he was almost taunting her without even knowing. He was like,
Yeah,
hey, come here. Like,
exactly, it was a lure. Yeah. It was like fishing with the bait.
Totally, he was like baiting her completely.
He was totally successful in doing that.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, poor guy.
Morels, at least in tropical waters, when there are plenty of them, is something you have to be careful with when you are excavating a shipwreck. Normally, when you're diving and taking photographs and stuff, you don't disturb them that much so they don't become dangerous. But when you are working in their territory and you're moving their rocks and you are destroying their homes, they can get nasty, and trust me, this is not something you want to suffer a bite from a Moril. The other fish, in this case there are two because they are family and they could be quite dangerous, are the lionfish and the scorpionfish. These two, they are always hanging around in the wrecks. I don't know why they are so attracted to shipwrecks, because, you know, cannons and anchors, I don't believe should be that attractive for fish, but these two are always somewhere there. The first one, the lionfish, you can spot. You can see the lionfish from far, but also it is very poisonous in their spines. They have a very strong poison and they can sting you without you having any intention either touching them or anything. But lionfish, they are predators. So when you are removing the sediment and all these little fish come to eat in that sediment that you are removing, they also come to try to eat these little fish. And then you will have the situation that has also happened to us, that you are peacefully working in one place and then it comes a lionfish and land in your hand and it will sting you. And I tell you, because it didn't happen to me, but it happened to another diver I was working with in that shift, his hand immediately swelled. His fingers became as hard as rocks, like really very stiff and very hard to the touch. You touch them, it was like if you were touching a rock. And he immediately, the entire arm was in a lot of pain. We had to take him out of the water. That was a light case of poisoning with this fish. There have been worse than that. But he was not taunting the fish. He was not doing anything. It was just like the fish miscalculate his attack to a little fish and ended up in his hand.
Listening to you, it's really, really funny to see how most of us have this misconception that sharks or orcas or all of that are like the biggest dangers. It's like a relatively small fish that is very poisonous.
They are dangerous. The sharks and all these big guys, the barracudas, they are dangerous in different environments, not in the excavation of a wreck when you are really like into the ground. That is the lionfish. But the scorpionfish, which is a fish that they really camouflage themselves to look like rocks, that's their technique for hunting the little fish and for hunting. They allow the little fish to come nearby them and they suddenly snap and take them and eat them. That is the reason why you don't see them. And then you can put your hand on them because you are moving rocks and stuff, and you put your hand on them with almost the same result that with the lionfish. The poison they have is so strong, I mean the toxin that they inject in your body is so strong that it could be, in certain critical cases, it could be even deadly. So this is something you want to inspect very well your surrounding area, because they don't swim that much, they will not come to you. But if you start excavating a certain grid, a quadricle or a little place that you have to excavate, yes, please first make sure there is none of the scorpionfish or lionfish or a morel, and we will be adding to this count. Another animal which it may sound also a little bit silly are the jellyfish. Why? Because we all have seen jellyfish in the beach and there are jellyfish all around. Most of the jellyfish are not that poisonous. Most of them, they are not that bad for you. If you come and they touch you, you will feel a little bit, but not like a big burn.
But some of them are, and you should definitely know. You personally should definitely know.
Exactly. That's what I bring them because I really hate them. The only time that I have a situation and I was close to death in a dive situation in working, it was with the Portuguese man of war. This jellyfish that everyone knows that has this blue bladder that goes floating in the sea and these long filaments underneath that go, sometimes they are very long and they are blue, you cannot see them, and they are as long sometimes as 30 meters from the bladder, so you could see that little thing floating over there and the filaments almost
be next to you.
Yeah, it's quite well known by people in general that this is a very poisonous animal and you should stay away from them the best you can. I got tangled with one of them many years ago coming out from a dive, and I was this close to had a cardiac arrest. Hopefully I was about 2 hours away from a hospital where I was properly treated with everything to stop this toxin to spread in my body, because they have like a neurotoxin that they will stop the movement of the muscles that you don't control, which are the muscles like the heart, the diaphragm, the intercostal muscles. Those are the ones that will stop first, and then it will prevent you from breathing, for instance, and you will die just because you cannot
asphyxiated
breathe.
because it kind of like freezes the organs and the things that we don't even think that function by themselves.
Exactly, those ones, the involuntary ones. So this is an animal that everyone knows and everyone is aware of. We are not safe from them because sometimes with this the right time of the year they will come also close to the shore. These filaments can go on you and have this situation that I have.
What do you think saved your life in that sense? Do you think it was the proximity to the hospital or what you guys did to, like, the first couple of seconds? We are speculating and assuming, but what do you think was what kind of saved your life?
I think there were both. First, my colleagues, the guys who worked with me in that boat, they knew what to do.
They did all the right things,
Well, not all the right things because we didn't have, let's say, very hot water. We didn't have it at that moment. That would be a good thing to do. Because the very hot water, without burning you, but the very hot water in the damaged areas, it will change the spatial distribution of this protein.
The chemical composition will be changed by the hot water.
It will change it and it will stop this effect. They, with a dry towel, they took off me all this, let's call it tentacles. They are not tentacles, these filaments. And they took them off together with some skin and they took them all off. And also because we were relatively close to medical attention, like 2 hours away, which it may sound
far,
much, but it's not. But it's not. I mean, that was quickly enough. So this didn't advance too much in the body. Another one of the jellyfish, and this one for the people who live or work and dive in the Caribbean, it will sound like, why? Is the sea thimble, which is like this, very small. By themselves, they are almost totally harmless. You see them in the beach, they go around and they can touch you and you will feel, a certain discomfort, but that's all. They are not really dangerous. But they are, in some moment of the year, they gather together for reproduction, and there are plenty of them, millions sometimes. And I tell you this because in Cuba we were working with these deflectors. The prop wash is these tubes that you put in the propeller of the ship that they will send water against the seabed and make a crater so you can go inside the sediment. So this, we're working with the propeller, sending water down to the divers at a quite strong pressure. And when you have this massive amount of this little jellyfish, they go into that propeller, the propeller just grind them, and what is sending down is a concentrated juice of these toxins that one by one, there is not a problem, but when that thing is like grinding 300,000 a minute, what is sending on your neck and on your face and on your hands is like lava. It burns like lava, and we suffer that every summer. I think they gather around April or May. I can't remember, but I remember that it was an issue for us as a divers, and in Cuba also, because as the water is so warm, many times we dive just with a t-shirt, not with the wetsuit. So it's your entire body. Then when it gets you, then it lasts for days. So you can get rid of that sensation and that burn in your skin. So the jellyfish, that they can also be quite dangerous for this work. The next animal I want to present you are the stingrays and torpedoes. Both of them very gentle animals. They don't mess up with you ever if you don't mess with them. The stingrays, the main issue, obviously, nobody will ever be attacked by a stingray unless you don't mess with them. We all remember this unfortunate incident of this man that was making documentaries about wildlife, and he unfortunately died because of a stingray sting him. That was very unfortunate, and this is not something that happens very often. But stingrays, they live under the sand. They only have their eyes outside of the sand. And one of the things that we do a lot when we are excavating, we produce a lot of rubble. And also the ballast stones of the wreck has to be moved from one place to another so you can reach the cultural layer. You can go down and find artifacts. So we move the rubble and the ballast stone, we move them normally with plastic crates. You walk on the seabed and you throw them in a place that we previously prepared, that we know that the place is clean from cultural material, and you put it there, you go back, you fill up your crate again. So on all these walkings, many times you step on a stingray, and a stingray was there minding her own business. It will sting you. I have incidents in my team. The guy got his feet totally open because he stepped on a stingray, and the stingray really, they had a sort of a knife in the tail. It's very short but very sharp, and it opens his feet. It was awful to see because he was also wearing dive boots. So it opened the boot and it opened his feet. It was really bad because he couldn't even see that she was under the sand and he was with this. Well, the same happened with the torpedo for exactly the same reason, but the reaction is different. The torpedo fish, what it has is a big electricity charge. It will not have this little blade to open your feet up, but it will give you a shock of many volts. This happened when you are in the sea. I have a very nice, well, very funny anecdote with one of our divers. Actually, one thing, I will be in the future making videos like with interviews and stuff with my team members, and I will allow him to tell this story because, I mean, he was the protagonist. So I can only advance that he stepped on one, and I have never seen him dancing so freely. So that was for stingrays and the torpedo fish. And last but not least, and I leave it to the end, this last animal, because I know many of you would like, Alex, what are you talking? The animal that has, remember that I said that I consider animals dangerous and harmful for the team when they produce downtime. Aside from the human part that someone is wounded, you have also to consider how many days out of work each animal will take one of your team member or yourself. And in this case, the one that has made more damage to all of us, more than any of the ones that I have mentioned, are the mosquitoes. Not only because they are uncomfortable, obviously, but working in countries when there is malaria, you have to protect yourself from the mosquito much better than you have to protect yourself from sharks. Because a mosquito bite in those places could give you malaria, and you could be, nowadays we have the medicaments, we have the treatments, and you have all that in your expedition. It's very rare that someone would die out of malaria having all the medication available, but it will have you a week or 10 days in bed thinking that you already died. It is very bad to get malaria, and our team got malaria, but like there were some few of them that had records, you know, like, I have 4 malarias already and I have 3 malarias. There was even one that we all think that it got only 1 malaria, but it never go off it. Never recovered. It was always with malaria. So this is a little bit of a joke because it's not a sea animal, but it's a dangerous animal. Sometimes it's not lions or rhinos or crocs. A mosquito can make your life very difficult, and if you are working in this kind of environments, shipwrecks are always in isolated areas. That's why they are there. Obviously, wildlife is more abundant in those places that close to a city or big human settlements. So it's one that you really want to be careful if you are conducting an expedition in one of these places. So, okay, I hope you get this far into the video, that you enjoy it, you have a good laugh, and you also pay attention in the future, even if you are not excavating a shipwreck, but if you are diving close to the seabed and you plan to do some things, remember there are some animals that they look totally harmless, but they can harm you if you do the wrong stuff, if you mess with them intentionally or unintentionally, as is most of the time our case. And if you have any other example, because you may have any other example of animals that could harm you in the water close to the seabed or halfway in the water column, just leave it in the comments. We will talk about it and just keep on diving.